Hello people, it's Power here to review the Ultraman Trigger DX Ancient Sparklense. So this is a premium Bandai item that got released sometime around March. Sometime when the movie got released to coincide with what happens in that. And as you can see from the box here, it's in its typical premium Bandai-ness. However, this is actually not the front of the box. This is actually the back of the box, interestingly enough, because the front of the box is just Trigger multi-type in front of the whatever this thing is. I obviously am 3 years behind on Tokusatsu, so and then you get the top, a DX Ancient Sparklense. At the right, we got Trigger Dark and the Dark Giants. I cannot recall their names. I can, but pronouncing them, well, it's Chimera, Darum, and Hudrum, I believe. I can finally actually know this guy's name. And then, obviously, we got Trigger. Let me back up. We got Trigger Multi-Type, Trigger Power-Type, Trigger Sky-Type, and Glitter Trigger Eternity. So, yeah, basically it's the same box layout as the original Guts Sparklense. So, let's take a look at the contents. So here we have the contents of the set. Obviously we have the Ancient Sparklense itself, and we have the blank hyper key, which we'll might as well take a look at right away. So here's the blank hyper key. It's in white, but it's not in the same shade of white as the Guts Sparklense. It's not even off-white either. I do like the secondary color being the translucent blue. I really do like it. And here's the stained glass image, which obviously is blank, and it's not even a stained glass. I don't think it's supposed to be. This doesn't make any sounds. And this one is B108. So this is a deluxe Guts Hyper Key that doesn't make any sounds. Anyways, here we have the Ancient Sparklense, to which this is a version of the, obviously this is the original version of the Sparklense that the Guts Sparklense is based off of. Obviously because to reminisce the original Ancient Sparklense, I don't know what that one is called. The one from the movie before the Final Odyssey for Tiga. Anyways, the molding and texture is really nice overall. It really does feel like a stone of some kind, because that's what this is supposed to be, an ancient artifact. We got rough edges and such, and the color is really toyetic, but I don't think that's a thing you should complain about. But I really do like the teal color, or the teal paint they have here and back here and such. And there's paint down here. This is obviously the release button for the Sparklense. As you can see from here, they moved the speaker to back here, obviously because this no longer folds and such. Here we have the core, and then here we have the nice pearlescent purple sheen. You sadly can't really see it. This is kind of similar to the Cyclotron driver I covered back in June or July. But I really do like this sheen overall. I want Bandai to do more of this purple sheen and such. Here we have a light sensor and the trigger button. And obviously the on and off switch is still back under here, and this still requires 2 AAA batteries. And then comparing it to the Sparklense, or the Gut Sparklense, obviously they covered up the window fully, but this thing does still take hyper keys, obviously, even though it never did that in the show. Obviously the notch on the left is no longer existent. That can still press down, and the pins are still the same. So yeah, they changed out where the speaker was. They obviously got rid of the Gut Select. So obviously, because this doesn't have to move, that's probably the reason why they moved the speaker back. I mean, I think you can transplant the parts that help this move into here and such. Just like the Oma Geo driver. But the screws, for the most part, are in the same place. But yeah, it's basically just, you know, a Gut Sparklense that can't close. To which, you know, works. Now, turning it on. We get a white LED, and surprisingly the LED actually doesn't really reach up to the tip. It's more just down here and such. And then there was actually another mode that we will actually play the sounds through right away. When you hold down the trigger and switch it on. Like, you can see it does reach up, but it's just my lights are way too bright for this thing, so yeah. As you heard, it announced itself, Ancient Sparklense, another mode. Basically, this is the standard mode that doesn't require the light sensor and such. So basically, this mode has 3 sounds. So basically, when you press it, you get that sound, and then when you press it again, you get the sound of the light going into the Sparklense, and then you get the transformation standby. Then you get the transformation. So there you get the transformation of Trigger multi-type via the Ancient Sparklense, and then it'll just follow through with attack sounds. I personally don't know what that sound's supposed to be. These are just circle arm attacks. And then it will do the Superion Coulson. There. And then to cancel the transformation, hold it down. And then hold it again to switch modes. As this will be the mode to transform to Glitter Trigger Eternity, but we won't show that, because right now we will show off sound mode, which just comprises of phrases of Kengo during this arc of Trigger. I don't think I'm gonna go through them all. I might just jump through, like, you know, a good summary of it. They definitely put a weird filter to his voice. Obviously because this is audio directly from the show. So it's audio directly from like whatever, like boom mic or lav mic they record. It's most likely a boom mic that they record from. So obviously they just took audio from that and like did some severe filtering so then it can be presentable. Eh. I mean, they at least do a good job with the echoes and such. That phrase made it really obvious. It makes him sound really, like, it makes it sound robotic. You know, the stereotypical robotic, like, filter. Then it's gonna go through the transformation. And then this is gonna go through the transformation. The transformation to Glitter Trigger Eternity is the last one. Yeah, and then when you hold this down, we're back to multi-type. So to show the actual function of this toy, so let's dim the light because again, this is a bit too bright. So basically, the whole gimmick of this toy is that this thing activates via lights. So when we press this once, you only get that until you bring out a light source and raise it to the center, like so. So when you hold it for at least 30 seconds, or at least 20 seconds, I think, you get multi-type. And then when you swipe the light away, it cancels. So then when you bring the light up to it, so when you get that, you know that you got the transformation for multi-type. This has the same exact sounds I showed in the another mode, because basically the another mode is basically just being able to activate the sounds without the light sensor, which I really do appreciate, because this to obtain Glitter Trigger Eternity actually took me a while. So just cancel the transformation there. So obviously, now I'll show you how bright the lights are by putting in the max setting and just pressing this. So this is how, like, I don't know, doing this in the demo was like, the range is pretty good. So keep this up to the light. Because if you move it away, it will just cancel. So you want to keep it under the light after it like emits purple. As you see now, it glows yellow. So when you get this, that's when you know that you completely achieved Glitter Trigger Eternity. So yeah, basically you get transformations of Trigger Multitype and Glitter Trigger Eternity that are more like traditional with, like, you know, this era of Ultraman and such. And basically, again, to describe the light thing, you basically need to keep the light in for at least an additional 10 seconds and such, which I'm not too big on that. I kind of wish that you, like, after you cancel the transformation to multi-type, you put it up to the light again, it immediately goes to Glitter Trigger. It's kind of annoying that you have to keep this to the light for a really long time just to get that sound, which is why I'm really happy that the another mode exists, so then you don't have to go through that hassle. Anyways, here we go with the sounds or the attacks for Glitter Trigger Eternity. It's mostly just the Glitter Blade and the whatever the finisher was called. And that's it. I don't know why it didn't cancel. Yeah, that's basically it for the Ancient Sparklense by itself. I actually thought it did a lot more, but surprisingly it doesn't. But you know what? It's cool that this thing actually does do things on its own, especially comparing to this thing for removing an entire function. But speaking of, I guess, stuff that are the same, hyperkey compatibility. So despite the fact this was never done in the show to what I know, and these two keys having nothing in common, they packed them together because they needed a way to get this out. So obviously just insert the hyperkey like so. Actually, let's just do it this way. So just slot this down. We get blank key. Does exactly what you expected it to do. However, now the voice of the Guts Sparklense is reverbed and such. So obviously, let's use some DX keys. So if we use Trigger Multi-Type.
Ultraman Trigger Multi-Type.
So yeah, obviously this does all the same stuff, and the light coordinations are the exact same. So it's just the lights or the sounds are just, you know, the sounds are actually changed to line up with whatever track this is, obviously. So all the trigger tracks, so multi, power, and sky do that. And if we do glitter, trigger, eternity. We do get a corresponding standby for this one. But obviously it's all the same. But like this is kind of the only one I actually do enjoy using the key for, just because it does still kind of work. Because if we do, so if we were to use a key like a Z key,
Ultraman Z, Delta Rise Claw. Delta.
we don't get Z's voice. And obviously all the light coordination is the same. This thing just does what it is told to do. And obviously, I didn't bother doing this in the demo because it would have taken way too long, but these obviously function just like if you put them in here. So if we held the trigger down, we get Promise for the Future. So like, I was going to show what are all these keys again, but it's just like, I would have done that if the trigger button sound actually did do a sound, but I just thought it was really necessary to do that. But yeah, basically, light combinations are the same from this thing. It's just, different sound combinations. However, all the pre-programmed keys, such as trigger and 0, all do something unique. Sorry, I was almost running out of time. This one's long. So yeah, the trigger transformation sound and the 0 transformation sounds are actually new, which is really cool. The fact that they didn't just carry the sound over from here is really cool. However, the best part are the attacks. We get the grunts of the two respective ultras, and this is where it actually emits the color of the key, which is really cool. Like this key does more in this thing than it does in this thing. How is that possible? And it's unfortunate because this is technically the only one that was ever released in Japan, because Trigger and Z got released in China/Hong Kong, and that one is actually really cool in here too, but I can't access it. The key luckily did become cheaper, but like, we can't, not luckily, we sadly can't access that, and Trigger and Ultraman and Trigger and Tiga, obviously you're gonna have to try to hack within here, but this thing's not great. Jumping into Kaiju keys. So here's Belial for fun. So the standby is still the same, but this is still purplish. So obviously, like, luckily, the Kaiju summoning or the Kaiju sound is a lot shorter, and I appreciate it. But this one's also interesting because obviously, if you remembered, this one had 2 button presses instead of the 1 that the original Gut Sparklense does. This one also has 2 sounds. So the first one being the standard grunt sound of that Kaiju or dark giant, but the second sound is actually the sound for the hypergun mode, which is really cool. So we're gonna use some of these. We're just gonna do the like humanoid ones. So here's Evil Tiga. Obviously, all of these are the same exact phrases from the Gut Spark ones. Then, who do we do from this? Yeah, sure. Alien Bolt on. Then, we'll do one of the Dadas because I decided to not show off all 3 because I did not want to in the demo. Then, I want to do all 3 of the Giants of Darkness because I think with these 3 specifically, they actually have new grunts that are actually more closer and such. But the thing is that I want to use. We'll use Juggler, but I'll show Carmilla. Actually, I'll show Carmilla just to show that this thing, despite, like, I just want to say right away, this thing reads hyper keys a lot better, just because it feels a lot more sturdy. Nothing wants to misread or anything. Even though this one, when I had to take breaks for this to cool down, this one's actually been reading in keys today, so that's good. But this one just hates anything it's in. Look at this. What is with this key? I don't get it, but like, what the heck is with Carmilla? Why does she not like to be in any of these devices? Like, I don't get this. So yeah, like Daron or Daram. No, I don't remember. He actually has a voice. This guy doesn't laugh. That's what I'll say. Watch the demo. we will obviously just end this off with Juggler. Yeah. And last but not least, we will use the blank key within the Guts Sparklense, which is just announced blank key, and this thing pulsates. And then Sparklense. Yeah, so it just airs out. And then when we put in Sparklense mode, it just acts the same. So yeah, it doesn't do anything, but I don't mind. It's a blank gimmick to begin with. But yeah, overall, my thoughts on the Ancient Sparklense is that it's neat. It's definitely interesting for sure. I do like the light gimmick. It's interesting. Um, Definitely interesting for a gimmick, and it will be interesting to see it in retail. But overall, it's fine. Like it's like besides the light gimmick, it is just a Sparklense, a gut Sparklense that can't close at the end of the day. And it's like I'm not disregarding it. Like I do think also a highlight of the toy is just its molding and the like just how it is, because I think from what the blog stated, they did scan the prop to replicate this and such, which I really do like when they do stuff like that. But like, if you actually need this thing, no. If you're a fan of Trigger, then get it. If you want more sounds out of Glitter Trigger Eternity, sure. If you really want the blank key to like reenact, obviously the scenes of like the Hyper Geek key getting created, sure. Mostly I got this just to have another device that can actually read the keys, to which I think is honestly probably one of the best parts about this toy, even though it's not a thing that it did in this show. Like, obviously, that's if you collected the Kaiju keys, obviously. If you skipped out on the Kaiju keys and only have the Ultraman keys, obviously you're not going to get much out of it. So it's just like, this is more rewarding if you've collected the Kaiju keys, just because of just the fact that they actually bothered to make it function differently. But overall, you don't need this thing. I think it actually is cheap in the aftermarket. I don't know, but you don't need this, especially because the hyperkey it comes with is not that substantial. Like I like it personally, but like you don't need it, especially it's especially like, are you really gonna like? I mean, I don't know how to phrase this. Like the light gimmick, the light sensor gimmick. I think it's definitely a thing you're gonna play around with for like 2 to 3 days. But then just go and constantly go to the another mode and just get those sounds. It I don't want this to be taken negatively because like this is a fine toy. It's just its urgency of getting of no its urgency of obtaining is just not really there. So yeah, that'll have to do with this review. This is Power, and I'll leave people. Sorry.